You ever notice how sometimes everything starts to feel connected? Like every sound, every flicker of light, every random thing you see isn't random at all. It's like the world starts whispering, showing you something, but only if you're paying attention. People laugh it off, call it coincidence, but deep down, they know it's not. Because when the sign shows up, when that strange little pattern keeps repeating, when something deep inside you tightens and says this means something, that's when you realize the message isn't from the world, it's from something beyond it. You ever think about how strange it is when something keeps repeating itself? A number, a letter, a phrase over and over again until it starts to feel like it's chasing you. You brush it off at first, call it coincidence, tell yourself it's just your mind playing tricks. But deep down there's this little pull, this quiet whisper that says, no, this isn't random. This means something. That's the part that gets to you. Because once you notice the pattern, once your brain locks onto it, everything starts to feel like it's pointing toward one thing, a sign. And signs don't come from nowhere. People walk around pretending the universe is just noise, like things happen without rhythm or reason. But look closer. There's always a pattern. There's always a thread connecting the chaos. You might not see it at first, but it's there, woven underneath every little moment that brought you here. That's how it starts, subtle, invisible, hidden in plain sight. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. It becomes a signal, a message that crawls beneath your skin, telling you something's moving, something's aligning, something's coming for you in ways you can't quite explain. The sign isn't a coincidence. It's confirmation, a stamp of alignment between what you've been feeling inside and what's been unfolding around you. It's the universe saying, you're not crazy, you're connected. And that realization hits hard, because once you accept that, you can't blame life for being random anymore. Every struggle, every delay, every heartbreak starts to make sense in retrospect. The dots connect backwards, not forwards. You see how each piece led to the next, how each pain had a purpose, how every moment, no matter how meaningless it seemed, was setting the stage for now. And when the sign appears, it doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't come with fireworks or trumpets, it comes with chills. That eerie stillness in your chest, that flicker of awareness that tells you you're standing at the edge of something bigger than yourself. That's the real sign. It's not in the sky, not in the clouds, not written on walls, it's inside. It's that quiet knowing that the timing isn't yours anymore. That you're not the one moving things. Something else is moving them through you. And you start to understand, alignment isn't control. It's surrender. The sign comes as confirmation for those who doubted too long, for those who prayed and waited, for those who thought silence meant absence. It's not random that you saw it today, not random that it spoke to you louder this time. It's because the timing has ripened. The message isn't about what's coming, it's about the fact that it's already begun, that everything has started to shift in the unseen long before you caught on. You were late to notice, but right on time to respond. That's how signs work. They don't predict. They reveal what's already been decided. You start noticing how people cross your path differently, how conversations echo the same phrases, how songs, numbers, or dreams sync up like clockwork. You think it's eerie, but it's precise. The universe doesn't stutter. It speaks fluently in patterns. You've just finally started listening. And once you're tuned in, everything starts to hum with purpose. You realize the alignment isn't out there, it's you. You were the one being adjusted, shifted, reshaped, until your frequency matched what was meant for you. The sign didn't appear when things changed. It appeared when you did. That's what most people miss. They chase signs like they're clues to a puzzle. But the truth is, the sign appears when you're ready to receive it. It's never premature, never out of place, never out of order. It comes right when your mind is still enough, when your heart has softened enough, when your spirit has grown quiet enough to recognize it. That's what alignment really is, recognition. The moment when your inner world syncs with the outer one and the message finally lands the way it was meant to. Not because the sign got louder, but because you finally stopped running from it. And when that happens, something shifts. The fear fades, the chaos slows, and you start seeing everything as part of one long, intricate message. That's when you understand the sign was never random. It was always waiting for you to look up, to pay attention, to connect the dots. It's not the world that starts aligning, it's you. The sign was the signal that the invisible has turned visible, that the waiting is over, that the message has arrived exactly when it was supposed to, in the exact form it needed to take. It's not chance. It's confirmation that the alignment is real. You ever wonder why that one letter, that one symbol, just keeps showing up everywhere? Like it's following you, mocking you, haunting you in the smallest places. You turn your head and there it is again, on a sign, in a message, in the back of your mind, like an echo that won't fade. The M. It's not just a letter. It's movement. It's motion. It's momentum. It's the shift that happens when something hidden decides it's time to reveal itself. You don't see it coming. You don't even understand it at first. But you feel it. The energy changes. The air thickens. And suddenly, something inside you clicks. The M activates. And everything starts moving differently. It's not just about what's happening outside of you. It's what's happening times within times you. Something awakens, a pulse, a force. It's like your spirit recognizes that it's been triggered, called into action. The world starts aligning in response to that activation because movement attracts movement. You start noticing how things that used to stand still suddenly shift, how what felt locked now starts to open. You feel the gears turning, the current running stronger, faster, clearer. That's momentum. The invisible push that tells you it's begun. People underestimate how powerful that ignition point is. They think signs are supposed to be quiet, soft, polite. But this one, it's loud, not in sound, but in presence. You feel it vibrating through you, whispering through everything you touch. The M isn't just a signal, it's a command. It means move. It means manifest. It means the stillness has served its time. You've been patient, maybe too patient, and now the balance has shifted. The waiting is ended, the energy is flipped, and the motion has started. You don't get to stay the same when that happens. You either flow with it or get crushed beneath it. You ever watch how a storm builds? It starts small, a single gust, a flicker of wind, a ripple across still water. Then it grows. That's what the activation feels like. You don't realize it's happening at first, but then suddenly you're standing in the middle of something bigger than you, something that's been gathering for a long time. It's wild, unpredictable, but it's also purposeful. Every drop, every gust, every flash of lightning has direction. The M is that spark. It's the surge that makes everything around it react, move, align. It doesn't ask permission, it just starts. And once it does, there's no stopping it. People try to fight momentum because they're afraid of change. They cling to what's familiar, even when it's suffocating them. But when the sign is real, when the M has been activated, resistance is useless. Everything around you starts shifting to match the new frequency. You feel it in your body before you even understand it in your mind. The urge to move, to act, to create. It's not random. It's the current pulling you forward, faster, sharper, stronger. The funny thing is, the more you resist it, the louder it gets. It keeps showing up until you have no choice but to follow it. And then you realize it's not just about physical movement. It's spiritual, mental, emotional. You start letting go of things you once thought you needed. You start seeing connections where you used to see confusion. The old version of you starts breaking apart, and you can feel something new forming from the pieces. That's manifestation, not magic, not coincidence alignment between what's inside you and what's waiting outside. The M is that bridge. It's the invisible spark that connects your intention with creation. You speak less and feel more. You stop asking and start knowing. That's when you understand the activation wasn't external, it was you waking up. Every moment after that feels alive, electric, charged with something unseen. The signs multiply, but now they don't scare you. They guide you. They push you toward what's next. You see how every delay was part of the buildup, how every obstacle was weight training for your purpose. The momentum that once terrified you now becomes your rhythm. You stop running from it and start moving with it. Every heartbeat feels like a countdown. Every thought feels like fuel. Every action feels intentional. You've entered the flow. The M didn't appear to confuse you. It appeared to activate what was dormant inside you. And the strangest part, you realize that it was never really about the sign itself. It was about what it woke up in you. The energy, the focus, the awareness, the pull towards something greater. The M is a symbol, sure, but it's also a mirror. It reflects back the part of you that's finally ready to move, ready to manifest, ready to transform. You can't explain it to everyone, and that's fine. They wouldn't understand. They don't feel it. But you do. You feel it deep, pulsing, real. The momentum is here. The movement has started. The M has been activated, and nothing will ever sit still again. You ever notice how the same things keep showing up until you finally pay attention? The same faces, numbers, words, dreams like realities on repeat, mocking you, daring you to connect the dots. You think it's random, you laugh it off. But the moment you start noticing the pattern, the moment your brain whispers times wait, this feels familiar asterisk, that's when something inside you wakes up. Awareness. It's like opening your eyes for the first time and realizing you were sleepwalking through your own life. You start seeing the threads, the connections, the timing, and it hits you. None of this is accidental. You were being guided the whole time, but you were too busy looking down to see it. Awareness changes everything. Once you see, you can't unsee. You start noticing how one decision from years ago led directly to this very moment. How that one heartbreak shifted your path. How that delay, that rejection, that disappointment was never punishment, it was placement. You start feeling the rhythm behind everything, the pulse that was always there but hidden beneath the noise. And suddenly, you're not angry about what didn't work anymore. You're intrigued because you realize every misstep was choreography. Every detour was design. That's what awakening to divine timing feels like. It's chaotic, but it's perfect in its chaos. The world starts to look different when you're aware. Things that used to frustrate you start to feel intentional. You begin catching patterns in conversations, seeing meaning in coincidences, hearing echoes in silence. You start to sense that something or someone has been weaving your story behind the scenes. And every time you recognize one of those little patterns, that's not luck. That's communication. That's the universe or something beyond it showing you it's alive, responsive, aware of you in ways you can't fully grasp. It's subtle, but it's undeniable. Awareness becomes the bridge between what's visible and what's real. And you start to understand why most people never see it. They're too distracted, too busy looking for proof, too busy doubting everything that can't be measured. They live on the surface while the current of meaning flows right beneath them. But once you've seen it, once you've felt it, you can't go back to pretending. You become sensitive to timing. You feel when something's off, when something's right, when something's about to shift. It's like your inner compass recalibrates to the rhythm of something higher. You stop forcing things. You stop chasing. You start allowing. Because you realize everything happens exactly when it's meant to, not a second earlier, not a second later. Awareness makes life heavier, but also more beautiful. You feel every delay differently. You see every pain differently. Because now you know there's a reason behind it all. You realize that patience wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You weren't being ignored. You were being aligned. Everything that felt like loss was just clearing space for what was coming next. That's the irony of divine timing. It never asks for your permission, only your trust. And when you start noticing that, when you see how things arrive right when you're finally ready for them, you stop doubting the process. You start trusting the silence just as much as the signs. And maybe that's the whole point. Awareness isn't supposed to make things easier, it's supposed to make them real. When you start noticing patterns, you begin to see your own reflection in them. The choices you made, the thoughts you entertained, the fears you fed, they all shaped the timing of what arrived and what didn't. You realize that divine timing isn't some distant force pulling strings, it's you, syncing with what's already meant for you. When you become aware, you stop being the victim of time and start being the participant in it. The delays stop feeling cruel because now you understand they were perfectly timed pauses in a story that was never meant to be rushed. And then there's that strange, almost eerie calm that comes with awareness. You stop panicking when things fall apart. You stop questioning when doors close. You just breathe. Because deep down, you know something else is aligning. Something unseen is already rearranging itself for you. You stop chasing after signs and start walking in confidence, knowing you'll see them when you need to. That's how divine timing works. It's not a game of hide and seek. It's a dialogue. You ask with your actions, and life answers through alignment. But you only hear it when you're awake enough to listen, so the patterns keep showing up, not to confuse you, but to confirm you're on track. The moments that repeat, the numbers that follow, the whispers that echo, all of them are signs of alignment. Awareness of them doesn't mean obsession, it means understanding. You've stopped treating life like a series of coincidences and started recognizing it as a conversation. And once you realize that, once you understand that every sign has purpose, every delay has direction, and every connection has timing, you finally stop asking times, why me? Asterisk, and start whispering times, right on time, times. Funny thing about power, it's not just about control, not just about domination. It's about influence. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. The kind that slips into a room quietly and changes everything without a word. People think power is loud, dramatic, chaotic. But real power, it's quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just exists. Like the silence before a storm, like the tension before truth explodes. You can feel it before you can name it, and by the time you realize what it is, it's already too late. That's the kind of power the world fears the most, the kind that doesn't announce itself, but transforms everything it touches. You see, everyone wants to look powerful, but very few actually times are asterisk. Because real power isn't about how people see you, it's about what happens when no one's watching. The way you think when you're alone. The way you respond when no one's cheering. The strength to stay calm while everything burns around you. That's power. That's something you can't fake, can't post, can't wear like a badge. It comes from surviving what was meant to break you and laughing through the cracks it left behind. Power doesn't come from pretending you're untouchable. It comes from realizing you already were, even when you were bleeding. The world taught you to equate power with noise, with dominance, with being the loudest in the room. But the truth? The loudest ones are usually the weakest. They crave validation, attention, recognition. They scream because they're afraid of being ignored. But the ones who know what they're capable of, they don't need to say much. They just act, they observe, they wait. And when they move, everything around them shifts. People feel it, even if they don't understand it. That's real power. It doesn't brag, it doesn't demand, it doesn't chase, it attracts. Because it comes from certainty, not desperation. There's something dangerous about a person who's been broken and rebuilt on their own terms. Someone who no longer needs permission to exist. You can't manipulate them anymore. You can't guilt them, shame them, control them. They've seen too much, lost too much, learned too much. They've made peace with their shadows, and that's what makes them untouchable. Power isn't about being unscarred. It's about turning every scar into a reminder that you survived what others couldn't. It's about walking through the fire and realizing you didn't burn, you forged. That's why people fear those who've made peace with pain. They can't be threatened anymore. The most unsettling kind of power is emotional control. Being able to feel everything but not let anything own you. To care deeply but act wisely. To understand the game without losing your humanity. People mistake emotional detachment for strength. But real power is the opposite. It's feeling everything and still not being consumed by it. It's hearing the insult and smiling anyway. It's being betrayed and still choosing not to become bitter. It's knowing the truth and still walking away in silence. Because silence is a weapon sharper than words. It cuts deeper because it forces people to face themselves. That's what real strength looks like. Not revenge, but restraint. You ever notice how the most powerful people never need to explain themselves? They just do what needs to be done. No justification, no speeches, no begging for understanding. Because when you know the truth, you don't argue with lies. You don't need the crowd to agree when you've already decided who you are. That's the kind of quiet confidence that rattles people. It makes them uncomfortable because they can't read you, can't predict you, can't control you. And that unpredictability, that's where real power hides. In being unbothered by chaos because you've learned to create order within yourself. But here's the twist. Power changes you. Not in the way people think, not into something darker, but into something clearer. You stop reacting to everything. You stop needing everyone. You stop explaining yourself. You realize that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your attention. Not every opportunity is worth your peace. That's when you know you've grown. You've learned that control isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself. You've become the calm in every storm, the stillness in every noise. That's not arrogance. That's evolution. And people will notice. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you cold, detached, different. But deep down, they're not angry because you changed. They're angry because you're no longer accessible in the ways you used to be. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. You stopped shrinking so others could feel taller. You stopped explaining storms to those who've never been caught in the rain. And that distance, that detachment, it's not cruelty. It's clarity. It's knowing that your peace is the price of your power, and you're done giving discounts. Real power doesn't seek revenge, it lets karma handle the small work. Real power doesn't compete, it creates. It doesn't scream, it watches. It doesn't fear loss. It understands that anything that leaves was never meant to stay. And that understanding, that's what makes someone unstoppable. Because when you no longer need to win every fight, when you no longer crave recognition, when you're no longer fueled by fear or approval, that's when you've truly won. That's when you've mastered the art of quiet domination, not through chaos, not through force, but through unshakable awareness of who you are and what no one can ever take from you. People like to talk about signs, They look for meaning in everything, numbers, dreams, accidents, even silence. But what they don't understand is that signs don't come to make you comfortable. They come to disturb you, to shake you, to pull you out of the illusion you've been living in. Sometimes they don't arrive as bright lights or heavenly voices. They come disguised as heartbreak, betrayal, or chaos. They come wrapped in confusion, so that only those who are paying attention can see them for what they really are. Because the truth is, when the universe sends a sign, it's not asking you to believe. It's warning you to prepare. It's funny, isn't it? How people pray for a sign and then run when they get one. They beg for answers, but the moment the truth starts to unfold, they panic. Because deep down, they didn't want clarity, they wanted comfort. But signs don't comfort. They confront. They strip away illusions. They reveal what you've been refusing to see. Maybe the person you trusted isn't who they seem. Maybe the path you've been walking is leading nowhere. Maybe the thing you've been chasing was never meant for you. And when that realization hits, it burns. It feels unfair, cruel even. But it's necessary. Because without that burn, you'd never wake up. There's always a moment before everything changes. That stillness right before the thunder cracks. That strange tension in the air when something unseen is about to shift. You can feel it, you just can't explain it. Your body knows before your mind does. Your energy starts pulling back from places that no longer fit you. Your gut gets louder, your patience thinner, your tolerance smaller. That's not coincidence. That's the signal. The sign you prayed for, manifesting in the quietest way possible. Not with words, but with vibration. Because real signs aren't written in the sky, they're felt in your bones. And when that moment comes, when you start feeling it, you'll question yourself. You'll think you're overreacting. You'll doubt your intuition. That's what makes most people miss the message. They silence the voice inside them because they're afraid of what it's trying to say. But signs aren't meant to be logical. They're not supposed to make sense. They're supposed to move you, to disrupt you, to redirect you before something worse happens. Because sometimes the universe speaks loudest when you ignore it the most. And if you still don't listen, it stops sending signs. It sends consequences. Ever noticed how everything starts to fall apart right before it finally makes sense? That's the pattern. Destruction before direction. chaos before clarity, pain before peace. It's almost poetic. The sign you thought meant end might actually mean rebirth. But you won't see it until you've lost everything that kept you blind. That's the thing about divine timing. It's never convenient, never easy. It exposes what's fake, tests what's real, and destroys what's weak. And the ones who can endure that storm, who can stand in the middle of it without losing themselves, they're the ones who emerge, untouchable. Because they didn't just read the sign, they lived through it. People think signs come to predict something. No, they come to prepare you, to strengthen you, to remind you that what's about to happen isn't random, it's written. The delay, the loss, the betrayal, it's all part of a script too big for you to see yet. And when it finally unfolds, you'll look back and realize that every moment that confused you was actually guiding you. Every person who left was clearing space. Every closed door was protection, not punishment. That's the beauty of signs. They make no sense in real time, but later they reveal divine precision. Sometimes the sign isn't even external. It's internal, a shift inside you. A sudden urge to change your life, to leave, to grow, to start again. That restlessness isn't random, it's a spiritual alarm clock. It's how the universe tells you it's time. But the danger is ignoring it, because ignoring your intuition is like silencing a fire alarm because you don't like the sound. It doesn't stop the fire from spreading. You can keep pretending, keep forcing, keep staying where you don't belong. But sooner or later, the universe gets louder. And when it doesn't whisper anymore. It shatters everything that's false. You know what's even more fascinating? Sometimes the sign is a person. Someone who enters your life out of nowhere, shakes everything up, and then disappears. They weren't meant to stay. They were meant to awaken, to teach, to unlock something in you that was sleeping. Maybe they broke you, maybe they healed you, maybe they confused you, but they were the message, a living, breathing reminder that you were meant for more. And when their role is done, they vanish, leaving behind only transformation. That's why not everyone who comes into your life is meant to last. Some are simply divine messengers wearing human skin. And then there are the moments when you feel everything stop. The noise, the rush, the confusion, it all goes silent. That silence isn't empty. It's sacred. It's the pause before something big unfolds. You might think nothing's happening, but everything is. The sign has already been sent. It's just waiting for you to align with it. That's the trick. You can't chase signs. You have to become times ready for them. Because when you're aligned, you won't need to search. The right things will find you. The message will reveal itself. The path will open. It always does for those who trust the unseen. Funny thing about people, they always say they don't care what others think, but their mirrors tell a different story. You wake up, you get dressed, and for a moment, you think you're invisible. But then someone notices. Not what you said, not what you did, but the way you showed up. The way your clothes spoke before your mouth did. You see, people pretend they don't watch, but they always do. They study your colors, your choices, your silence. And sometimes, without even realizing it, your reflection starts living in their minds longer than you ever planned. You think people don't notice, don't you? You pull on your clothes in the morning, staring at the mirror, adjusting a collar, tucking a shirt, smoothing a crease, and you tell yourself it's just routine. But it's not just routine. Every choice you make about how you present yourself sends a signal, a message, a little ripple into the world that people catch whether you like it or not. That jacket, that color, that wrinkle-free line down your pants, It's a statement. You may think it's invisible, but it's not. The human mind is wired to notice, to analyze, to assign meaning to the smallest gestures, and your appearance is the loudest language you're speaking before you even open your mouth. You ever see the way someone looks at you and realize it's not just curiosity, it's judgment, it's calculation, it's assessment. They're cataloging every detail, how clean your shoes are, how your hair sits, the way your sleeves fold. And it's funny because you don't even know they're paying attention, but they are. Every crease, every polished edge, every deliberate choice becomes a reflection of who you are, whether you like it or not. People notice the effort, or the lack of it, long before they hear a single word. And the irony is, the effort isn't even for them, it's for yourself. But the moment it crosses into their perception, it gains power, influence, and meaning beyond what you imagined. Appearance is not vanity. It's communication. It's the armor you put on to show the world that you've arrived, that you're aware, that you care about the impression you leave behind. And yet, it's subtle. It doesn't scream. It whispers in textures, shades, angles, and lines. People read it instinctively, even unconsciously. That tie you spent 15 minutes adjusting, that color you chose because it makes you feel bold. It speaks louder than confidence ever could when you try to say it aloud. People pick up on it, they remember it, and it shapes how they interact with you, long before your words land in their ears. What's fascinating is the way perception works. Someone notices, but they might not even know what exactly caught their attention. Was it the crispness of your shirt, the sharpness of your shoes, the way you carried yourself while adjusting your cuffs? It doesn't matter. The point is, it registered. It influenced their subconscious evaluation of you. And that's where the subtle power lies. The way you dress, the way you present, the meticulousness of your choices. They all become part of your narrative, without a single word being spoken. People see you before they hear you, and the story they tell themselves begins with what they notice first. Effort is contagious. When people notice that you care about yourself, that you respect the image you present to the world, it commands attention. It doesn't beg for respect, it demands it. There's an invisible authority in the way someone who has thought about their presentation moves through the room. It's quiet, but undeniable, and it works both ways. Noticing effort in others makes you evaluate your own. Seeing someone else take care of their appearance, of their choices, forces the mind to compare, to reflect, to recalibrate. That's why first impressions are often accurate. They're built on instinctive evaluation of the signals that your body, your clothing, your posture, your presence broadcast before a single word is spoken. And there's power in knowing that someone is watching. Not in a creepy way, not in a judgmental way, but in the sense that your choices matter, that you can influence perception without saying a word. Your attire, your grooming, the way you hold yourself, it all becomes a message. People notice whether you realize it or not, and that noticing carries weight. It can open doors, it can create opportunities, it can spark conversations, or it can shut them down. The smallest detail can shift how someone approaches you, trusts you, or even remembers you. That's why care in presentation is never wasted effort. It's a silent currency, trading influence, recognition, and respect. Confidence and self-respect are embedded in appearance. People notice not just what you wear, but how you wear it. The slouch of shoulders, the angle of your head, the alignment of your steps, every motion carries meaning. Clothes amplify those signals, either reinforcing or contradicting them. Someone noticing the way you dress is noticing more than fabric and thread. They're noticing the way you inhabit your own space, the way you command it, the way you expect the world to respond to you. And even if they don't articulate it, that perception sticks, shapes behavior, and lingers in memory long after the moment passes. The truth is, every detail matters. People notice the effort you put in, the thought behind your choices, the subtle signals you send before you speak. And once they notice, it influences everything that follows. The way they interpret your words, the way they interact, the assumptions they make, they all begin in that first visual impression. You may think it's superficial, but it's the first step in a deeper understanding of who you are. Because what you choose to show the world is often a reflection of what you demand from yourself. And people see that. They always see. That, people like to say, it's what's inside that counts, and they're right eventually. But let's be honest, before anyone even gets a chance to know what's inside, they see the outside. They notice the way you carry yourself, the way you move, the way you've chosen to present yourself. Appearance is the first sentence of your story, and it's written before you've spoken a single word. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible, but it's there, shaping perception, influencing thought, and guiding reactions. And the funny part is, you don't even notice it happening until someone points it out or acts differently around you. It's easy to underestimate the power of observation. Someone might glance at the color of your shoes, the alignment of your jacket, the pattern on your tie, and think nothing of it consciously. Yet unconsciously, that detail registers. The mind records it, catalogs it, compares it against expectations and standards. That single, unnoticed action, the way you buttoned your coat, the choice of fabric, the cleanliness of your sneakers, sends signals about who you are, what you value, and how seriously you take yourself. People pick up on it instinctively, and before you realize it, that impression has already started shaping how they see you. Confidence isn't born in words. It's born in the subtle, unspoken cues you give the world about your presence. Someone noticing the way you dress isn't just noticing the clothes, they're noticing the intention behind them, the care you put into your choices, the pride in your own appearance. It's not vanity, it's self-respect made visible. And the world notices self-respect immediately, even if they don't consciously register the reason. Your clothing becomes a language, your style a narrative, and your presence a statement. People respond to it before they even know why. That's the invisible power of intentional presentation. There's also a curious psychological effect at play. When someone notices you, really notices you, it changes the dynamic. Suddenly your presence is acknowledged, your efforts validated, your choices recognized. That noticing is more than a compliment, it's an energy exchange. Someone taking the time to observe you carefully implies value, attention, and awareness. And when people sense that, it changes how they approach you. They interact differently. They listen differently. They treat you differently. All because they noticed the detail you thought was trivial. All because they recognized the care you took without realizing the magnitude of the message you were sending. And here's the strange truth: people are always watching, whether you think they are or not. The moment you step out, you're broadcasting signals. Your posture, your movements, your choices, they all transmit meaning. And when someone notices those choices, it's rarely just superficial. They see patterns, they interpret, Context, they assess confidence, capability, and attention to detail. That's why dressing intentionally isn't just about looking good. It's about communicating silently, commanding presence, and subtly influencing perception without ever saying a word. You have the power to guide impression, and people respond to it instinctively. Effort is magnetic. Even the smallest, most careful decisions in how you present yourself become visible signals of discipline, awareness, and intention. Someone noticing your effort, even something as simple as matching colors, polished shoes, or a well-fitted jacket, interprets it as care, precision, and self-awareness. And that perception can open doors, create trust, and generate opportunities you never imagined. That's the hidden influence of presentation. It precedes dialogue, it informs judgment, and it leaves lasting impressions that ripple far beyond the moment of noticing. What's fascinating is how subtle it is, yet how powerful. A simple observation, a glance at the fold of your shirt, the alignment of your sleeves, the shine of your shoes translates unconsciously into ideas about competence, discipline, and self-respect. Someone noticing isn't necessarily conscious of the assessment, they just feel it. It shapes the lens through which they evaluate everything else about you. That's why presentation matters. It's not about superficiality, it's about strategy. It's not about vanity, it's about influence. The details of how you show up, the precision of your choices, the care in your movements, all of it is being watched, processed, and remembered. And when someone notices, it isn't just about them, it's about you too. It reflects the energy you put into yourself, the discipline you maintain even when no one is looking, the pride in the small decisions. That recognition, silent or spoken, reinforces your own awareness of your presence in the world. It reminds you that your choices matter, that you leave traces, and that every detail contributes to the story of who you are. Every glance, every observation, every subtle acknowledgement is proof that your effort has weight, influence, and consequence in a world that rarely waits for permission to judge. You realize, then, that appearance isn't decoration, it's communication, it's influence. It's the first impression of your internal narrative, projected outward. People noticing is a signal that your message is being received, that your presence is being registered, that your intention is visible, even before a single word is spoken. And once you see that, you begin to understand the unspoken power that flows from intentional presentation, the way it shapes perception, guides interaction, and leaves a mark long before conversation begins. You think nobody's paying attention, don't you? You walk into a room, throw on whatever feels comfortable, maybe a little stylish, maybe just functional, and you tell yourself, it doesn't matter. But it does. People notice. Always. It's in the way the fabric moves when you walk, the angle of your shoulders, the shine on your shoes, the way your shirt fits across your chest. They see it before they hear you, before your voice even touches the air. That's the thing about presence, it arrives before words. You can hide your intentions, your thoughts, your mood, but your appearance broadcasts them for free, and everyone is tuned in. Think about it. That jacket you chose, maybe on a whim, maybe with intention, is more than cloth. It's a signal, it's communication. It says something about your taste, your awareness, your energy. The buttons, the color, the way it fits across your back, they all speak, whether you want them to or not. And people pick up on it. Someone notices, and in that noticing, they're forming ideas about you long before conversation starts. They're reading you like a book, scanning your details for clues about confidence, ambition, even discipline. And the irony is, you never gave them permission. They just see. They always see. Appearance is an extension of self-respect. It's the first layer of communication we have with the world, whether we like it or not. Someone noticing the way you dress isn't about superficiality, it's about intention, it's about care. When you pay attention to yourself, when you put effort into how you present, it radiates. People can feel it. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be flashy. The quiet precision of a well-chosen color, a perfectly fitted cuff, the polish on your shoes, they all whisper strength, confidence, and presence. And someone noticing that is acknowledging not just your appearance, but your discipline, your awareness, your energy. What's fascinating is how subconscious it all is. Someone may not even realize they're noticing, but their brain is cataloging every detail. It's comparing it to expectations, assessing subtle cues, determining a story about who you are before a word leaves your mouth. And that's power. That's influence. A glance at the fold of your sleeve or the shine on your watch can create a perception that carries through interactions, shapes judgments, and guides behavior. People notice the effort, even when it seems invisible, because intention always shows. It leaks, it radiates, it cannot be hidden. Confidence and presence are amplified by attention to detail. Someone noticing your choices, how you combine colors, the cut of your clothing, the posture you hold, translates immediately into perception of competence and authority. It's silent influence, subtle yet undeniable. You might think it's trivial, but the subconscious is powerful. First impressions are formed in milliseconds, and they're often cemented before you even speak. That's why presentation matters. Someone noticing isn't just acknowledging clothing, it's acknowledging the story you're telling about. Promote yourself without saying a word. There's an invisible conversation happening all the time, and your appearance is your voice. People notice the folds, the fabrics, the angles, and they interpret it. They assess whether you are meticulous, whether you are confident, whether you respect yourself enough to present intentionally. That noticing carries weight. It guides behavior, creates expectations, and influences interactions. And when you understand that, when you see that every choice you make and what you wear communicates to the world, you realize that presentation isn't optional, it's strategic. Effort is magnetic. When someone notices that you've taken the time to think about yourself, to align your presence, it draws attention, respect, and acknowledgement. That glance, that silent recognition, shifts dynamics. It can open doors, spark conversations, influence decisions. Small details, the polish on your shoes, the precision of your tie, the crispness of your shirt carry disproportionate weight. People notice, and that noticing creates ripple effects you can't always predict, but that always matter. And the best part? When someone notices, it reflects back on you. It reminds you that your choices have impact, that your presence is registered, that your energy is being received. It validates the effort you put into yourself. It reinforces that attention to detail, self-respect, and intention are not wasted. It teaches you that even subtle, quiet work in how you show up in the world has consequences, shapes perception, and communicates your worth in ways words never could. In the end, The way you dress is more than clothing. It's influence, perception, communication, and presence. Someone noticing isn't vanity, it's recognition. Recognition of intention, effort, and energy. And that recognition changes everything, how they see you, how they interact with you, how they remember you. The truth is, people are always noticing, always. And when you understand that, when you accept that, every choice you make becomes deliberate, every detail purposeful, every movement intentional, because the world is always watching, and every glance registers long before conversation begins. You think people aren't paying attention, don't you? You wake up, put on whatever feels right. Maybe you throw on a jacket, maybe a shirt, maybe just sneakers and jeans, and you tell yourself it doesn't matter. But it does. Someone sees it. Someone always sees it. The way your clothes sit on your shoulders, the fit of your pants, the alignment of your shoes, the subtle color choices you made without even thinking, they all speak before you ever open your mouth. You're communicating whether you know it or not, sending little signals into the air, broadcasting your energy, your care, your presence, and people catch it, even when you think they don't. It's funny because you assume someone noticing your appearance is superficial, trivial, meaningless. But it isn't. That noticing is the first sentence of the story you're telling the world about yourself. It's the first impression, the invisible announcement, the introduction before a single word is spoken, and the details matter. The small things, the crease of a shirt, the shine on a shoe, the way your sleeves fold carry weight. People process them instinctively. They read patterns. They judge discipline. They interpret attention to detail. And once it's registered, it colors everything else they perceive about you, shaping interactions, assumptions, and expectations. Effort isn't hidden. You think you can be sloppy, careless, indifferent, and no one will notice. But someone does. Someone notices the time you spent, the thought you put in, the care behind the choices. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to scream. Even subtlety becomes loud when it's intentional. That polish, that perfect fit, that harmony of color and texture, it signals more than style. It signals discipline, confidence, self-respect. And someone noticing it isn't just noticing clothing, they're noticing you. The message you're sending without speaking, the energy you carry, the presence you command. People pick up on it instinctively, and it influences their perception before a word lands. Appearance is more than aesthetic, it's communication, influence, power. Every choice you make in how you present yourself speaks to the world, whether you intend it or not. Someone noticing that choice is engaging in a silent exchange. It's recognition, validation, influence. And that noticing has consequences. It affects how they treat you, how they interact with you, the assumptions they make, and the opportunities they extend. You may think clothing is just fabric, but it's a message in motion, a story in threads, a language that precedes words. And here's the fascinating part. People notice even when they don't consciously realize it. Glance at the fold of a jacket, the alignment of a tie, the polish of a shoe, tiny, almost imperceptible details registers. It creates an impression, forms a perception, and lingers in memory. You don't need to speak. The story is already being told. That's why first impressions are often accurate. They're built on the subconscious reading of intention, attention, and presence. And when someone notices, that impression becomes the lens through which everything else is interpreted. Confidence radiates through presentation. Someone noticing your choices is noticing the pride you take in yourself, the care you extend to your own presence, the way you inhabit your space. Clothes amplify the signals of posture, energy, and movement. The way you stand, the angle of your head, the flow of your steps, they all communicate intention. And the attire you choose doesn't just amplify that, it becomes part of the silent language, an extension of your personality, and a signal of readiness, competence, and awareness. People read it, remember it, respond to it. Effort is magnetic. Recognition of it, even unspoken, commands attention, shifts perception, and influences behavior. A small detail, noticed, can create disproportionate impact. The crease of a sleeve, the harmony of color, the shine of shoes, all signals of awareness and care. And the moment someone notices, it validates you, not just externally, but internally. It reflects the work you've put into presenting yourself, the discipline you maintain even when no one is watching. That acknowledgement, conscious or not, reinforces your presence, your value, and your influence. In the end, appearance is never just superficial. It is influence, perception, communication, and presence. Someone noticing isn't trivial, it's recognition. Recognition of effort, intention, and energy. It shapes how they see you, how they interact with you, how they remember you. Every choice, every detail, every step matters. And once you understand that, once you accept that people are always noticing, your presence becomes deliberate, your choices intentional, and your silent narrative powerful. The world is always watching, and every detail registers before you even speak. People think style is just about fashion, about colors, fabrics, or trends, but it isn't. Style is language. It's a signal that speaks louder than words, louder than voice, louder than gestures. You get dressed every morning and think nobody's watching, that the world won't notice, that it's just you against your closet. But it isn't. Someone always notices. They might not articulate it. They might not even be conscious of it, but their brain records every detail: the cut of your jacket, the alignment of your shoes, the choice of color, the little details you didn't even think mattered. It's all being observed, cataloged, and translated into perception. There's an unspoken conversation happening the moment you step into a room. The way your clothing sits on your shoulders, the way your pants fall over your shoes, the subtle shine of leather, the way a cuff catches the light, it all communicates. Someone noticing isn't noticing just the material, they're noticing intention. They're noticing care. They're noticing the fact that you value yourself enough to show up with attention to detail. That noticing sends ripples. It shapes assumptions about competence, about awareness, about confidence, and all before you've uttered a single word. Presentation is the first impression, and first impressions stick. It's fascinating how effortless observation can influence perception. You might think a glance is meaningless, a casual notice is trivial, but the mind works differently. Someone notices, and in that noticing, they start constructing a narrative about you. Are you disciplined? Are you confident? Are you aware of yourself and your surroundings? Those questions arise not from words, but from visuals, from choices, from effort. The crease in a shirt, the alignment of a tie, the polish of shoes, they all tell a story about who you are, how much you respect yourself, and how seriously you take your life. And that story becomes the lens through which they evaluate everything else. Clothing and appearance are extensions of identity. They amplify your energy, your confidence, your self-respect. Someone noticing is noticing more than a pattern or a texture. They're noticing the embodiment of your choices, how you carry yourself, the precision of your movements, the alignment of your body with your clothes. It all communicates. and the subtle power of that communication cannot be overstated. People respond before they realize why. They adjust their behavior, their assumptions, their level of respect, all because they saw something you didn't think mattered, something you put on instinctively or intentionally. Effort is magnetic. Even the smallest choices, the polish of a shoe, the fold of a cuff, the harmony of colors, project presence. People notice effort. They always notice it, consciously or unconsciously. Recognition doesn't require applause. It doesn't need verbal validation. A glance, a moment of attention, a fleeting impression, it carries weight. It influences interactions, molds perceptions, and creates opportunities. Every subtle detail in presentation becomes a currency of influence, a silent authority, a declaration of intention without a single word spoken. Confidence is inseparable from appearance. The way someone dresses is inseparable from the way they inhabit their space. The posture, the rhythm of movement, the alignment of energy, all amplified by intentional presentation. Someone noticing is acknowledging that alignment, recognizing that presence, respecting the effort that went into it. Clothing doesn't just cover the body, it communicates the value you place on yourself, the respect you hold for the world, and the awareness of the signals you broadcast. That noticing isn't just observation, it's interpretation, it's judgment, it's acknowledgement of self-respect and discipline. Presentation creates ripples beyond the moment. It influences perception, interactions, and memory. Someone noticing isn't a fleeting event, they carry that perception forward. The quiet attention, the subconscious registration, shapes behavior, molds assumptions, and leaves lasting impressions. That's why care in presentation isn't vanity, it's strategy, it's influence, it's communication on a level most people never consciously perceive. Every choice matters. Every detail contributes. Every movement reinforces the silent narrative you're projecting, and there's power in understanding it. When someone notices, you realize that effort is never wasted. The care you put into showing up is not invisible, it registers. It impacts perception, shapes interactions, and validates self-respect. That, noticing, is a reflection of influence, a subtle acknowledgement that your presence matters, that your choices matter, that the energy you put out into the world is received and registered. People are always watching, always noticing, and every detail contributes to the silent language of perception, the invisible story told before you ever speak, and the ripple effects carry further than you can imagine.